Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Kowloon Generic Romance Season 1, Episode 3. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we open with Reiko and Kudo in the past. I thought about it last episode too, and I don't think I noticed as much. Well, no, because it obviously was a lot more. You see the duality of it, the different Reikos or rather Kujirais, and it's like it's got to be the same voice actress just doing it differently, right? Because she has like a more kind of, I don't know what you'd call it. Like her voice is definitely like in a lower register. Once again, I don't know the right terminology to say, but it's just like she has a lower voice when she's like Kujirai B, as they put it, and the Kujirai we've come to know is like Kujirai A or whatever, has like a lighter voice. I'm sure it's the same voice actress, not unless they did do the thing of it's two different voice actors, but I'm assuming it's the same voice actress just doing like changing her voice just to kind of distinguish between the two. But either way, it was interesting the opening being what it is because the opening's pretty lengthy. It's a pretty lengthy kind of cold opening before the intro, but I thought it was interesting like Kudo was having heat stroke, and she's like, "Oh, come back to my place," which is so interesting because when they were painting that place in episode 1, she kind of had a heat stroke moment, and he was there to kind of comfort her. So it's kind of interesting how it's like once again things keep playing out like very similar to how they played out in the past. But they had that conversation again about nostalgia. And he was like, "Oh yeah, you said like," because he's like, "Yeah, he's only been in Kowloon for like a little bit, but he's starting to really feel it, and he's kind of starting to feel a little nostalgic for it." He's like, "Yeah, what is nostalgia?" And she kind of talks about her perspective on it, and also kind of reiterates the whole because he was like, "Oh, nostalgia. You said nostalgia is a lot like love," and she's like, "Nostalgia is something." She's like, "It feels like you should kind of keep that in your heart, just like love, you know." Even if you don't like, oh, you have these memories, and this feeling of this thing. And it was interesting. And it feels like that ties into Kudo. Like Kudo to me is like a walking contradiction because it's like, you want Kujirai to be your Kujirai, but you also push her away and won't allow her to change. So it's like, no, you have to be what I want you to be, but I won't accept you as you are either, even though it's like you want to be too. It's like, I understand the confliction of like, this is the person in front of you that resembles everything about her is like the woman you love, but they're just slight differences. And those differences annoy you because it's just like, she says the same things, but it comes out a little different coming from this Kujirai. And it's sad, especially later on, because she ends up eventually getting a fish tank for her fish, who she named Success, interestingly enough, and they take it back to her place. And obviously, like, once again, he's noticing, like, right, the 8 beside her apartment. I don't know if that's, I guess that would just be like it's room or apartment 8. But either way, she's like, oh, she says all the things. Because she at first was like, hey, don't just like kind of go in my place without my permission. But then she's like, leave the inner door open, put on these slippers. And he's looking around. He goes in the bathroom and he's smiling because he's like, oh, everything's the same. But then he goes in the fridge and there's not that cup of water like it was then. So it's like things are similar, but they're not quite fully the same. I don't know. I can't remember. I think that thing that she got from her friend last episode that she made, she has one of those things that Yao Mei was making last episode. So I'm assuming it's supposed to be a situation of like, well, my Kujirai didn't ever do that or have that, because he stared at that because it like seems so out of place. And even when he went outside on kind of like the terrace type of area to smoke, what is it, that silhouette of Kujirai, once again, it's that shadow that's always there. And so he, didn't stick around because it's just like he can't bring himself to be too close to her. He wants to be near her. He kind of wants things to stay the same, but then it almost feels like every time something is a little different, like the earring situation, it makes him go like, nah, because he feels himself kind of getting sucked into the vortex of this is my Kujirai, but then it seems like reality kind of slaps him awake and it's like, no, it's not. And he kind of leaves and she's like, he already left, but she's like, you're welcome to come by again anytime, because obviously she'd want him to come back through. Because I wonder, it's like that was probably why he offered to take the tank with her, just to help her, but also just an excuse to go back to the place just to see whether things are the same or not. Obviously, I skipped over like Hebi Numa showing up because apparently their boss kind of had something to do with one of the previous locations, or the location that the new medical center, clinic, or whatever it is. He had some association with, like, I guess, setting that up. Maybe it was a previous location or whatever. And he's thinking about making one in his general area. And obviously, the entire time, Kudo is just staring him, dogging him down because he does not like Hebi Numa. And then Hebi Numa is just kind of making this whole point of staring her down and being like, oh my God, Kudorai, you should be with me instead of him, a guy that doesn't even notice when you change your lipstick. Well, he probably did, but it probably is the thing of, well, he wants her to wear the lipstick he wants her to wear. It's so interesting because it's the same lipstick he wiped off her lips last episode, saying like, oh, it's not her color or whatever, which is ironic. But then he kisses her with his literal snake tongue just to piss Kudo off. And then even later on being like, oh yeah, like snake, they devour their prey whole and stuff like that. And obviously he's having Kujirai investigated because she's, it's not even like, are you really into her, or is it just a thing of you look at her as like this fascinating thing that you're trying to understand? That's the only reason why you want her, is just out of curiosity, kind of like a mad scientist in a way. That's all she is to your fascination, and because of that you find her so interesting. But that's why I was like, we find out like, well, you have a lover. I don't know whether you guys are serious or if it's just kind of a very beneficial relationship, whatever it is. So it's like, well, I mean, he could easily just be bi, or or probably just in general. But it's like, well, would Kujirai even be on your radar? Like, maybe you are into women and just Kujirai wouldn't be someone you're interested in. You're only interested in her because of her circumstances. Or is it the thing of like, no, I float that way? Or it could also just be, hey, I'm doing this just to screw with Kudo because I know it's be fun. And just like how Kudo, the line between nostalgia and love, like, they go hand in hand to him. They're so intertwined that you can't remove one without the other. You can't have one without the other. Maybe the kind of similar things there for Hebi Numa, where it's just like, fascination and interest and like intimacy kind of go hand in hand. So if it's like, it's not one or the other, it's kind of all or nothing. Maybe that's kind of how that he views that. I don't know. So they also help out Shohei with trying to find a new place. Which, this is the episode that made me go like, especially when she was like, hey Kudo, do you like me? And I was like, oh wait, because I was under the impression, I was like, Shohei's like a young, I thought she was like a teenager maybe. And I'm like, oh wait, are we doing the anime manga thing of like, oh, she looks like 15 or something, but she's really like late 20s, if not early 30s. Like, she might be the same age as Kudo in them. It never even crossed my mind. I mean, she could also, it could just be like she's smaller, but she could just also be on the younger end too. She could be like in her early 20s. But I was like, I didn't even think of it. Like I said, I just assumed she was like a kid in the neighborhood. But it's like, no, I keep forgetting. It's like, this is anime. You see someone that's young, you can't just assume they're like the age they look. They might just be a full-grown adult that just doesn't look one. I was like, right. Your fascination and obsession with the Trails game should have like clicked that over you. Like, Toa Herschel is a character for a reason, even though she's like in her mid-20s looking like she's 15 or something. But either way, you get the point I'm trying to make. So that kind of threw me. But Kujirai is showing her different places and apartments she can move into. And I also love that thing with the sunflower, because it's like, oh, the sunflower means like I've always got eyes on you, because she gave him that. But she didn't realize when she gave that to Kudo, that's what the meaning behind the sunflower was. But either way, they go circle all these different places, and she can't find one that clicks with her. So Kujirai's like, well, why don't you move to like downtown Hong Kong? Like, you could leave Kowloon, just because you work part-time. Like, you're a part-timer, meaning like you're not really beholden to just stay in one place. But she says, I can't leave Kowloon. She's like, even back then, I made that same choice to stay. And she's like, what do you mean by that? And she's like, wait, did I say that? And Kujirai's like, yes, you did just now. So it's like the old memories and the past. It's like moments of like the memories of the past bleeding over. That's why I was like, is this whole thing because of the generic Terra like some massive like memory? Like, as the parallel I made last episode, is this like a Xanarkin thing from Final Fantasy X? And that they're all kind of, this is like a dream in a way, where like these it doesn't have to even be literally a dream. It could be sort of like a dream where like you're living in these memories. All this has been played out before to some extent, and you're kind of living these memories. Or like this whole thing is stuck on repeat, kind of looped after a while. And I mean, it's interesting because like some versions of heaven are kind of viewed like that. Like basically, heaven is just you kind of reliving your life on repeat in some capacities. Like, I mean, I don't know if like religion from a religious standpoint that's how it's viewed, but I know some shows and things have like depicted heaven like that, where like you're kind of reliving like aspects of your life, kind of in perpetuity in a lot of ways. Like this is all kind of on repeat. That maybe on some level that's kind of where deja vu comes from. I don't know. I could be like just like way out there with that, but I'm wondering is like that what this is kind of supposed to be like. For example, like all these people are technically going, and we're just seeing the past through these memories of them living this life. I don't know. There's also the element I kind of thrown out there about Kujirai that I'm like, are we dealing with like a robot, like android situation, which we'll get to later. But yeah, it's just like once again it's just those little moments where like there's kind of like that reality break of her saying like Shohei saying that line of like I made that choice before to stay. So who knows? But they did find her a place that's like got more narrow halls and stuff. And even like Kujirai was like, well, this can't be the place. Like it's kind of not narrow. It's got space for all the clothes she wants to keep. But you know, there's no way like and it's like, no, she loves the place. And Kudo had made the point of, yeah, like the places you picked were great, but those places were great places for someone that isn't Shohei. And now it's a thing of her being like, right, I'm gonna have to keep that in mind going forward, that I've kind of got more to learn. That's why I'm like, you know, because someone had made a joke about like, oh yeah, this junior is running you or like barking orders, and Kudo has this like sullen look on his face. You just see his mouth kind of frown up a little bit, and then he kind of puts on a fake smile. And he's like, or you could look at it as, hey, this senior is very considerate of his junior. So I guess it's like, once again, it's kind of like their relationship and dynamic has changed, like what it was with Reiko or Kujirai B and him, where she kind of took charge, and now he's filling that role for this Kujirai. So it kind of screws up their whole dynamic that he's kind of in her shoes, as I've kind of discussed that I think in last episode, kind of made that parallel as well. But we also learn a little bit more about Hebinuma's family. He's a bastard child in that he his mom was like the mistress. So you're like, interesting, okay. And then there's that photo, like, because I guess the place they were, it's not Hebinuma's place. I think it's the guy in the mask. The moment I saw the green hair, I was like, it's not Gwen, is it? It's someone that looks like Gwen because he's going through the trouble of wearing the mask. And so him and Hebinuma have whatever relationship they have. But like Hebinuma had asked like, oh, did you like talk to someone to like report this stuff about his family situation? And it's like, no, like someone else kind of ran that story. But he's like, yeah, I went to see Kujirai. It's like, there's differences, but her smell and all these other things are so similar. And once again, he's continuing to look into it. He's also got like this Yakuza-esque tattoo like on his back, where like once again the whole serpent angle is very befitting for him, because he's got that like serpent slyness and sliminess to him, and the whole forked tongue thing a little too. So, but home dude had said like he's wearing the mask because he's like, I'm gonna draw too much attention if I don't. But it's like, you walking around Kowloon with that mask on is also going to draw a lot of attention. But he doesn't want to reveal his face yet until later on. He presents himself in front of Kujirai, and he takes off the mask. And she's like, oh, you're the guy from the tea house place. He's like, oh, so we do know each other. But he's like, yeah, we know each other. Because she's like, did you know Kujirai? He's like, yes, I did. And you're not her. And kind of says like, right, the mole is in the exact place. And he's like, he's like disgusted by her, because he's like, oh, you're such a fake, because the real Kujirai is gone, while you are just kind of this. The word later on that gets used, not necessarily kind of in against her, and just in a grand scheme of things, is illusion. And it's just like he's doing that just to, like, I don't know if that's him trying to be like, yeah, it's just the raw reality of it. I'm not trying to say it to be cruel. It comes off cruel because that's just the ugly truth. Truth isn't always nice. He could say it in a more tactful way, but I kind of felt like he was doing it just to be cruel, telling her like, you're not Kujirai. The real Kujirai is gone, and the fact is like, oh, Miss Kujirai that I don't know, like just to like cut it deeper. Now she's like, because he's like, you're here living someone else's life. Like, and how like pitiful that is, having the same face as someone living their life, a life that's not your own. And yes, there's been the conversation of, well, you're not Kujirai B, you're your own person. But I think on some level she was still thinking, well, maybe I am that person. Even once again, it's that whole ship of Theseus thing I brought up last episode. But it's like, well, at least even if I'm not necessarily her, I am still her. I just don't have those memories, and so I'm kind of a different person. But now it's like, but no, like I'm not. I am a different person. Like I'm just like a fake living this real person's life. And she goes to see Kudo, and he didn't take care of the flower. The flower's dead, and it's just kind of like he's so dismissive of her, and that's why I'm like, okay, you're so flip floppy because you're getting all like up in arms with Hebinuma, but now you kind of treat her like you straight up treat her like shit at the end of the episode, and then now her eyes are getting blurry again, and it's like, oh, why don't you go back to wearing your glasses? She's like, no, I'm never gonna wear my glasses again. I am my own person. Like I chose the lemon chicken. I chose not to wear my glasses. I'm not just being Reiko Kujirai, like I am me. Like just because we're similar, I still made my own choices. But because she's like, I choose to want to be and like be with the person I like, and I want him to view me and see me in a good light. And he's like, all that's an illusion. Like all that you feel towards me isn't real. He's just kind of saying like you are so busy trying to be Kujirai that you think like he's like your feelings for me aren't real. And it's just like, once again, it's like how much of that is him saying that to Kujirai, or is it how much of that is him saying it to himself to try and say like, you're not the only one trapped in an illusion, I am too. And I think he's just like, I'm nipping this in the bud right now. I need to kind of stop. Like I've let this go on for too long. I got trapped in this illusion as well. But it's like we need to both wake up that this isn't what it is. You aren't who I want you to be. And once again, I think it is unfair. And I brought that up earlier of like, yeah, like it's this conundrum of like, she can't just be her own person because too much of who she is someone else. And so you dislike the fact is that she's someone else because you want her to be the person you want her to be, but she's not that person enough for you to fully be able to kind of like enjoy it. And it's just like, what is she supposed to do? Even though she is like, even if I was Kujirai and I lost my memories, I am a different person. Just because we have similar things and I love you like she loves her, like she loved you, but it becomes so overwhelming and it just seems like maybe she's sick or something, but she passes out and that's where the episode ends. But it's such a like I had that like anxiety feeling the entire time where you're just like, oh, this is not going to end well. And because I'm so curious, because Kudo is looking for Gwen yet again. Not obviously, once again, the other guy who looks like Gwen is walking around like with the mask on and everything, whatnot. But he even says like, "Oh, I tell Kudo I was looking for him, but it's not our time to meet up yet." So yeah, I don't know, because he had asked that guy like, "Oh, where's like where?" Because he's like, "Do you know where Gwen lives?" Or like, "Oh," the guy was like, "Why don't you check where Gwen lives if you're trying to find him?" And it's like, "Well, I don't know. I can't find this place." And he ended up going to this place, and it says like a dead end. And he's just like, "What's going on?" Because things are changing, and it's just like it's that thing of like, I don't know how much people are aware of what's going on around them, like these little breaks, these little twists and turns. There's like so many questions about, once again, it's kind of like, it's trippy because you're like, I don't know what's real and how much is just kind of, like I said, like I was thinking like, is Kujirai like, I mean, I said robot, but I'm like, are we dealing with clones or something? I feel like if it was clone, you'd be a lot more precise about every aspect being the same. But it could also be just a thing of like, yeah, every clone is a little bit different, kind of like an Orphan Black situation. If you've ever seen Orphan Black, spoilers, it's about clones. It's my favorite clone thing because I adore that series. But I don't know. I once again, I've got so many ideas in my head that are like rushing and brushing against each other that I'm like, I don't know. Because this is the first time I thought, well, maybe we're going down the clone route. But like I said, my initial thought was, well, maybe it's like I said, other than the Xanarkin, this being memories, like perpetuating what Kowloon was, it's just a place stuck in nostalgia of these memories rather than kind of and people dreaming and not willing to wake up. Or are we dealing with robots? Are we dealing with clones? I don't know. This is a sci-fi series, so I'm coming at this from like a genre-wise. So I'm coming at this trying to find the science fictional angle to it. And I'm just so curious which direction they're going to go. Obviously, the whole like being a dream thing, kind of like it being memories washing over a place and like hiding the truth of what this place really is present day. It's like I guess that could be science fictional enough. Obviously, I'm referencing Final Fantasy, which in the title fantasy, but I don't know. But yeah, I'm just kind of spitballing a lot. I'm so curious to see where all this takes us going forward, what this means for Kudo and Kujirai going forward after this. Yeah. And especially with Hebinuma kind of in the middle of things, kind of doing his own investigations. Because who's the person because I don't think it was a voice we recognize. The person he was like, yo, I need you to continue looking. He's like, oh, we're continuing to look into Reiko Kujirai. But it's like, yeah, like I said, we'll have to wait and see. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.